Alright, chicken and broccoli in oyster sauce. For this wonderful dish you will need, what I'm using is this marvellous product, this tender stem broccoli, which I picked up from Aldi today. You can use ordinary broccoli, which you just split into florets, but this, especially the stalks, which are tender stem, you can just eat that as it is. Wow, that is wonderful. Excuse me, I'm having a moment. That reminds me a little of the wonderful Chinese vegetable choy sum. If you can get choy sum, use it instead of broccoli. It is actually better to use than broccoli. But purple sprouting broccoli, this wonderful tender stem, and it is wonderful, trust me, I'm eating it raw and it's gorgeous. Tender stem broccoli, if you can get it, for this dish, and you're going to want a good pile of it, about the same amount as you're using in size as chicken for this dish. I'm using chicken breast. Chicken breast works particularly well with this dish, although you can use chicken thigh meat, which is a little more moist. And I like to cut it, watch the way the grain goes on the chicken, and I like to cut it at nice little slivers against that grain. And what that does, that produces nice little steaky type end pieces that will cook quickly and be absolutely delicious and tender. So we do that, and I'll get that finished up. And then what I want to do, as you've seen me do with other Cantonese style dishes, is get the meat marinated. So I'm just going to use a little splash of soy sauce and some of this garlic in with my meat, which I'll just throw all in there. Give it a splash of the soy. You don't need much for this, just a little splash. What's that, teaspoonful perhaps, something like that, and get that mixed in together. You can also add dry sherry, or preferably Chinese cooking wine to this. If you can't, then a dry Fino sherry is almost as good, and I can't tell the difference in taste in the finished dish. The other things you'll need in this, I've got 2 cloves of garlic. Garlic works exceptionally well with broccoli, and it's always good with chicken. Work them in together when you can. So if you are doing stir fries and you're doing broccoli, make sure you've got a bit of garlic in there as well. For colour and contrast and crunch, I've added a little bit of carrot, which I've cut on the bias into these nice pieces here. They'll cook very quickly. The onion I've cut into little pieces around about that size. That's half an onion. And I think, what was the weight on that? Did it tell me how much that was in weight? That's a 200 gram bag of tender stem broccoli. Also, I'm using this wonderful Thai oyster sauce. Now, when you're buying oyster sauce, be careful to get the real thing. There's oyster flavour sauce, which is not the real thing. But if it says oyster sauce and it's got oysters on the label, and this one's got 30% by volume of oysters in it, which is rather good. And this is a well-known Thai brand of oyster sauce, and I really love using that. And that is my go-to oyster sauce for all dishes, including Chinese. It's really wonderful. You'll need some oil for stir frying. I generally use granite oil for stir frying. The other thing you'll need, of course, is you'll need a little bit of a couple of teaspoons of corn flour, corn starch, mixed with some water. You may or may not use all of that. I generally don't use all of it, but it's nice to have it there if you need it. The only other thing I would probably add to the chicken at this stage is a little more cornstarch to help protect the texture. There we go. Just just about a teaspoon of that, and get that massaged in. Once that's massaged in, I'll switch focus and we'll show you the cooking of this, which is fairly straightforward. Alright, you need your frying pan or your wok at very high heat, and getting some cooking oil, a couple of tablespoons perhaps. Straight in with the chicken. And get that moving around. You want to spread it around so it cooks quickly. The secret with all these wonderful stir-fried dishes is the speed at which you cook them. Yeah, it's chicken, you've got to cook it thoroughly, which you will. And the same with pork. Spread it out, get it cooking. Into that can go your garlic, your carrot, and your onion. Get all that in. Get that stirring around a little bit. So we're building up a flavour bomb here. And as that's cooking, to add a bit of colour and flavour to it and saltiness, another tiny splash of light soy sauce. Oh, lovely. The smells that come off that when that starts to cook, it's just outrageously good. And once you've got that in a couple of turns, now's the time to go in with your broccoli. Alright, if you're using thick florets, you can put it all in at the same time. But this one, I love this beautiful, wonderful vegetable. And you get that in, get it turning. At these high temperatures, it doesn't take very long for your broccoli to be cooked, and everything will be finished round about the same time. So what I like to do now is steam that off a little bit, and I'll show you how I do that now. Okay, so what I do, I've got about half a cup of water. I add that in, and then because it's not a wok, I have to gather it in a little bit so that it all fits under my head, my biggest lid. Okay, and what you want to do is you want to leave it under that lid, let the lid get really hot, and then leave it like that just for about half a minute. Okay, once the steam builds up inside the lid, you'll start to see the liquid bursting out from under the lid. That's a good sign. Or if your lid's got a little hole in it, you'll see steam issuing through that hole. So once that's gone about 30 seconds, lift the lid off. You're done with that now. And in with your oyster sauce. So I've got a generous tablespoon of oyster sauce, maybe 2 dessert spoons full of oyster sauce. That goes in there, that gets a stir. And now I'm going to add a little bit more water to that. Stir up my cornstarch mix because it tends to stick to the bottom once it doesn't, it settles real quick and it goes to the bottom. So give it a stir just before you use it, and drop that in there. A little bit more. I think we're going to need all of that. Have a bit of extra water standing by for when it starts to thicken up. You don't want it too thick. Keep it moving, keep it stirring. Make sure you don't cook out the crunch in those vegetables. This is why you've got to eat Chinese food fresh. No good having microwave Chinese food, it just doesn't work. Chinese stir-fry dishes, especially Cantonese food, it just doesn't work in the microwave. It may be alright the next day, but it loses too much in my opinion in the interim. Right. That, boys and girls, is certainly ready for my tasting, which I shall do with gusto. Get in there, get a bit of that sauce, see what it tastes like. Oh, that is amazing. Slightly sweet, and with those lovely crunchy vegetables and that tender chicken, that is going to be something special. I'll show you all this plated up right now. So there you have it, chicken and broccoli and oyster sauce served with plain steamed rice. Thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you would like to follow my channel, please subscribe and be sure to click the bell icon to receive notification of all my upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.